Hi everyone, today I'm going to be sharing 4 easy steps for flipping your classroom. I recently gave this presentation at an EdTech Team Summit and I had a few people request a video of this so that way they could review it again. So this is for you guys. Now normally this presentation when I do this at a conference or at a school or at a summit would be quite more interactive. But since it's just me, this is going to be more of you guys watching what to do. And then if you want to open up another tab and follow along and try out these steps as well, that would be great. So if you want the session and if you want this slide deck, you can copy down this code and then that way you can view it or make a copy of your own. So here's some information about me. I'm a Math and Avid teacher. Here's my email, Twitter, website. If you have any questions, you can reach me at any of those places. Or if you have any technology requests, you can feel free to email me or shoot me a message on Twitter as well. Okay, so I think the first thing that is really important to go over is why is the flipped classroom important and what are those benefits? Because if we do anything with technology, we need to make sure that we're not doing it just for the sake of technology, just to say that we're doing this cool thing in our class. We really have to evaluate sometimes, are we doing something that is promoting student learning, that is making the learning process easier or more beneficial for students? So I'm going to go through a little bit why I do a flipped classroom. Now, to start out, a flipped classroom is where the students prepare for those activities at home, the things that we're going to do in class, such as maybe activities or lesson practice, skills practice, project-based learning. What they do is they take the notes at home, and then they come into class, and then we do the practice and the activities and the project-based learning. So it's flipped. Unlike a traditional approach where you do all the lesson in class, this is the opposite. The direct teaching part is done at home, and then the activities and all the practice and projects are done in class. So it's reversed. And so some of those benefits, I think, are first, there's quite the debate right now on homework and should we be giving homework, and if we do give homework, what type of homework? But I think that everyone has come to the agreement that if we give homework, it needs to be achievable and it needs to be meaningful. And I think what better way than notes? Because I always say that notes are when the students need me the least. When I'm doing direct teaching, even though I'm the one giving that lesson, they actually don't need me very much at all because they're copying down notes or they're just receiving information. But when we start doing practice or activities or projects, that's when they need me the most. That's when they have the most questions. So I think that giving this as a homework assignment is very meaningful because it's going to be something that benefits them, but it's also achievable because it is something that does not, they won't get stuck on it. They might have a few practice problems at the end to go over, but if not, they can come into a group and work with me on that the next day. But at least that note part is done, and that was not a time in which they really needed me to do that in class with them. Plus, I think if you're going to give homework, it's such an easy assignment to give. I feel like I have much better return rate on my assignments because this is very achievable to them. It's low risk. There's very low opportunity for failure, so they're more willing to do this assignment from home. They can take the notes at their own pace. Every student writes at a different pace. Some write quickly, some write slow. They can even choose to take notes on different days depending on where they're at in the class and what activities they're working on. So it allows for that pacing and that personalization. It offers, again, more support in class to be able to work on activities or project-based learning. And I think that is very beneficial for students. It makes it very relevant for them. And by having more of those opportunities in class, then math becomes more relevant, or whatever that subject is that you're teaching, it becomes more relevant to them. But they also have the support of the teacher during class to do those activities. And then again, something I touched on a second ago is that it personalizes the education for the students. I'll have some students do the notes even over the weekend because they know the upcoming week is going to be busy. So they want to get ahead and they'll start those notes. Maybe even lesson practice that normally I'd give in class, but it allows them to move ahead or to go a little bit slower if they need to as well. So I think the big focus though here is that it goes from being a teacher-centered approach to a student-centered approach. And that is a really big thing that a lot of people are talking about in education right now because we, used to teach in a time where I am the teacher, I am relaying the information, you take that information, and then you put that on a paper. But now the focus is putting more of it in the students' hands and allowing them to be a part of their learning process and to make those choices and to personalize that education so it's personalized around those individual students rather than just what the teacher wants them to do. So here are some of the cool activities that we've been able to do in class. Obviously, there's only like 2 pictures here, but sometimes we've done projects in class where we've made post-it murals and using ratios and proportions and percent and all those different things when they build that post-it mural and scale factor, and they just enjoy it. It's kind of artsy, but there's math embedded in it, and so they enjoy that. Over here, we've done a lot of breakout EDUs, the digital versions, as well as Genius Hour projects, passion projects, things where the students get to choose what it is they want to work on with some sort of math focus, and then create a project about it. So that's not just all that we do in class. We have still some skills practice that they need to do, and we have some activities that the whole class participates in, or we use HyperDocs, but it allows for us in our classroom to do more of these things since we're not spending most of our class doing direct instruction. And one thing that I think is important to note about the notes that I do, they are very rarely over 15 minutes. So I'm not sending home 45-minute notes with them. They're 10 to 15 minutes of just the bare information that they need to know to be able to explore it further in class. And then how does it work? So the students complete the notes at home, and then at the very end there are questions to check for understanding. This allows me to then sort them the next day, and some students might go into intervention groups. On EdPuzzle, I can see what is the percent of the video that they watched, how many questions did they get correct out of those few practice problems, and if they struggled, I'll pull those students out into like a small group and review it with them. If I have a larger class, then it might be student-led mini tutorials where they go over those problems together. And then those students that are confident with that material, they move on to another activity or task or project. They've got some sort of enrichment that is not just more work, but it's something that's meaningful that relates to what we're learning, but it allows them to move at a different pace as well and do something if they don't need remediation. So now I want to walk you through the 4 steps. And I'm going to kind of pop back and forth between this presentation now and Chrome, so that way you can see some of the tools that I am using. Now, the very first step in flipping your classroom is to simply create a presentation. I use Google Slides about 95% of the time. With math, sadly, there's been a few times where I do have to revert to PowerPoint because they have an equation editor in there. And when I start getting to more advanced exponents or maybe needing to use square roots, things like that, I just don't have as much capability in Google Slides, but 95% of the time I use Google Slides. And I have shared a couple of presentations here with you. And so if you click on one, you can just open that up. You can see that it's not long, and it's really, again, it's just the basics. Here's our title. I always have an essential question, the avid person in me. And again, it really is just the skills, because the application stuff we work on before and after that. We work on a lot of application and real world based things when I first present the material, and this is kind of somewhere in the middle after they've already been introduced to it, but it's to allow them to get those basic skills that they need to know. And that's why it's so short, is what are the basic skills that they need to know, and then later let's move on to applying those basic skills to more advanced problems. So as you can see, it's not a real long or fancy Google slide. At the end, there are practice problems for them to review, and it tells them to go to EdPuzzle and put their answers on there. And so this is the first step. You just create some sort of presentation. Now, our next step is to then record via Screencastify. And if you do not have Screencastify, it is an amazing extension, and I have given you a link to it here. Now, Screencastify is free up to recording 10 minutes, but you will also have their logo in the bottom corner saying, like, this has been recorded by Screencastify. And for me, I sometimes record past 10 minutes, and I don't always want that logo there. Now, the cool thing is Screencastify does have a purchase option, but it's also affordable. Last time I checked, it was $24 a year, which is awesome. because $24 a year is nothing for such an amazing tool. And that is actually what I'm recording on right now. And so it is a great tool that you can use to record or even draw on your presentation as you're going through it, and it automatically saves into your Google Drive. Okay. So in this part of the presentation, normally I'd have everyone practice that. I'd have them go to Screencastify, I would have them open it up and then record. But what I'm going to do just is I'm going to open up another, I don't think I can record via here, but I'll open up just another window and just show you what that looks like on here. So let me pull up another account. There we go. Okay, so what I've got here is I have got, this is my, basically I use two different tabs, and what I can do is I can pop back and forth. So right now I'm recording on my work account, and then what I can do is then I can show you guys how it works on my personal account, which is not the, this is the free version, so it might be good for you guys to look at. But when you click on it, or once you download that extension, it will show up right here in the top right, and you will have that ability to just click on it to start recording. And this is what you will see, so it's actually really good that I'm doing this on my home one, because you'll see the setup option, and you'll want to set up that camera access. You'll want to allow that camera and microphone option, and then this is really important right here. You do want it to save to your Google Drive. If you save it locally on this drive, what that does is it saves it to your computer, but when you save it to Google Drive, it creates a folder called Screencastify on your within your drive that you can access from anywhere and at any time. So you'll just go through this process, and then you'll set up, you'll sign in with Google, and then you can also set up the tab recording, and you just kind of allow all those things. You're an educator. I guess grade school would be the best option, and it's pretty easy and quick, as you can see, to set it up. And then it starts sending you through this tutorial video sometimes, but if you don't want to go through the tutorial video, you can just kind of X out of there. So if you wanted to record something on here, and all you would have to do then is click your Screencastify, and you can record via tab, desktop, or camera. Now tab is just what you see currently within the tab that you have open. Desktop would mean it's recording your entire computer screen, even if you switch between tabs. And then on your camera, that will record you. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm recording desktop. That way I can switch between tabs. And then I also have this thing right here called embed webcam that is open so that you can see me and so that I can talk to you. When I record my own videos for my students, though, I don't usually embed the webcam. And just make sure your microphone is set up when you're using this. And then to record, you just start recording. Now, one cool feature, though, I usually use tab when I'm recording notes, because when you look at the options over here in advanced, there is the option to do a drawing tool. And this is a great tool right here, because when you start recording, you can actually draw on your screen. And if you've got a touch laptop or computer, that is really great. If not, there's this thing, and I'll put it in the link of this video, called a Wacom tablet or a drawing tablet. I would like it, because then I can just plug it via USB into my computer, and I can draw on that tablet, and it shows up on my computer. But sometimes it's nice, even though my Google Slides is all digital, sometimes I still like to write on there or make notes when I'm giving that presentation to the students. So that is Screencastify, and as you can see, it's an awesome extension, and it's really easy to use. And let me get back to our presentation here. So if you want to try that out, feel free to give that a shot. And when you record it, it just shows up right into a folder called Screencastify that is on your drive. It goes right into your regular drive, and it shows up just in that folder, and you can even rename it and upload it to different places, which leads us to our third step. So upload and edit via EdPuzzle. So when I first I created my notes, and then I recorded them. But then I want to put them in EdPuzzle. And EdPuzzle is an amazing website that allows you to find or even upload your own videos and add questions in between to check for understanding. It also syncs up with Google Classroom, so you can add your classes right in. Now, when you upload and edit via EdPuzzle, you just need to go to EdPuzzle first. So let's open that up. And as you can see, I've got a couple classes here, and this is the class that I use most of the time, and pretty much like 95% of the time. And what ends up showing up here, and I think it's just taking a long time to load because I have like a million videos there, is all the assignments that I have assigned to my students. And then in this one where it says my content, these are different videos that I have created, and I've put them in folders. These were ones that I was using to test out and show at the presentation. But if I go into Math 8, I've got my notes, and they're all organized in folders in here. And so what I can see is here's all my videos. I can see that there's questions attached because of that green question mark. And then with the 3 little blue people, that just tells me that it has been assigned to a class as well. Now, if you want to upload your own video, which is part of this presentation, then you would just go up to Create and upload a video. Now, this part, it depends where you are saving your video to when you've recorded it via Screencastify. If you look at my drive right here, so I'll show you. I've got, like, this is like my, Windows Drive right here, and I also have Google Drive. Basically, if you want to, you can download Google Drive to your computer so that it syncs automatically between the two. I use it sometimes for those people that still use Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. It's nice because I can access my files from anywhere, but then just open it easily on my computer without downloading it. I don't use those tools too often, but it is nice for Screencastify because for you guys in your Google Drive folder, Screencastify would just show up. I moved mine somewhere else, and so all mine go into this. I just moved the folder into a different folder. And so these are a lot of videos that I've recorded using Screencastify, and you guys will have a Screencastify folder as well. And so you would just need to locate that video. Now, if you do not have Google Drive as an option that's downloaded to your computer, when you go to Screencastify, let me pull it up in this one right here. You might just want to go to, and I'll just record this real quick, just as an example.
3,
so you can see it's recording.
1.
So recording, and then when I'm done, I just press end recording. You can see it just opens up so that you can rename it. But if you don't have that folder down here like I do, you can just click this Save to Disk button, and that will just save it to your disk, and you can upload that video into EdPuzzle from your Downloads folder. So if you don't have Google Drive on there, you can see that just by downloading it, it shows up right here. And then I can just upload it. And it's going to upload quick because it's like 4-second video. So wherever your video is, you have to locate it, and then you upload it into EdPuzzle. And then once it's done, then you can start editing it. And when you record with Screencastify, they're usually pretty small files. They are not, I've never seen one, I don't even know that I've ever seen one over like 50 megabytes. They're really tiny, so they upload quickly. And if your students don't have access to internet, it's very easy for them, for you to share it with them, and they can just download it to their Chromebook or device, and that way they can view it. Now this one is preparing, so I'm just gonna play with another one. Here's one that I created, and I must not have added it. But let's say that I wanted to assign this video to my class, but I need to edit it first. So I can choose Edit. And there's 4 different options here, and I really only use 2, but 95% of the time I only use 1. If you want to shorten your video, you can crop it, and you can make it smaller if you wanted to. But then over here with quizzes, what you, and there's audio track and audio notes, but I never use that because, as an example right now, I'm recording my voice, so I don't need to do that. If you do, then that is a great tool for you, but I don't usually need to do that. But I do use quizzes all the time. So to do the quizzes, you just drag this bar down at the bottom to whatever point in the video that you want to assign a question. So if I want to assign a question right there, I would leave it there and then click the question mark, and I could add a short response, I could add a multiple choice, or I could add just a comment. Normally, I use the multiple choice because it allows the students to check their answers. I'm not a big multiple choice fan, but for the sake of homework and these notes, it is a great tool. So let's say that the question was -6 plus 4. Then I would want to make sure I put in the correct answer there, and then some incorrect answers below. And then I would just save it and continue. And then I can see that that question is right here now. And if I wanted to go back and add more questions, I can even hit this plus sign over here. And I could add, maybe I want to add an open response question. And I can say, explain your answer. And now I can see there's two questions there. Here's the first one and here's the second one. Now, obviously, the short answer won't grade. If you want to, though, you can go in and grade that and apply those points. It just shows it as wrong until you have graded it. So that is one thing to think of. But this is a great feature, and again, this is part of that. It allows me to sort the students when they come in. If they understood it, if they have a really good foundation, they didn't get those questions wrong, they go off into enrichment groups. If they struggled with these questions, then they will come into a group with me, and we will work on it. So I'm just going to click Finish now, and I'm going to assign it to my test class. And you can assign a due date if you want. Normally I don't, because I usually put it on our classroom website, which I use year to year, so I don't want to have to go back in and change it. But I do use the prevent skipping, because this prevents the students from skipping through the video, and they have to watch the whole thing, and EdPuzzle actually keeps track of the % of the video that they watched, which is a very useful tool. Now, sometimes I do worry that it is slightly inaccurate, because I have had students watch the whole video and it says they haven't, so I'm not sure what's going on that end. But for the most part, it is very accurate, and it is a great a resource to teachers. So once I send that, I can see that it goes right into this class. And then I can see, okay, currently 0% of people have watched it, but that's because I don't have anyone in my class. If I did have some people in my class, I could click on this progress button, and then I could see each individual student, and I could see what % of the video they watched, and then what questions they got incorrect. And so that is very helpful, again, for sorting those groups if you're going to use that model of kind of blended instruction in your class. Now, the very, very last step of our 4 steps for flipping our classroom is to then share with your students. And there's a lot of different places you can share. You can share Google Classroom, Google Sites. I use Haiku, which is recently turned into Power School Learning, I think. And I like that because it gives me more static information. Basically, I can create a website that doesn't have a feed. But I do use Google Classroom, too, for different things in class. And the students are really good about bouncing back and forth between each. And when you do that, as you saw, as I finished that last video, I just assigned it to a class. But you can also choose to take a link or do an embed code. So if I go back to EdPuzzle, I can choose share, and I can choose to give the students a link, and that would be what you would want to use if you're using Google Classroom. Or if you're using something like a website, you can choose to embed it. So link is just a link. They would have to click on it. They would be taken to EdPuzzle. Embed is like a video that's embedded on the website, so that way they can watch the video without leaving that website. They don't have to go to EdPuzzle, they can watch it there. And you can also send it. You can send it straight to Google Classroom. And if you are a Google Classroom user, you can also import all your students from Google Classroom. So that is an awesome tool as well. So besides that, that is pretty much our presentation on flipping the classroom. Congratulations, if you followed along with us, you did just flip your classroom. It can be a lengthy process to get used to at first, but it's one that I find very beneficial. And as you go through the years and you work on these presentations, you're not always starting from scratch. Each year I modify and I change it, but at least I have something from last year to work with that I might like. There are times where I scratched everything and I said this was a terrible flipped lesson, I need to start all over. But it is nice as you start to get a couple years into it that it gets easier to flip and you've just got things to modify at that point. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at any of these, my email, Twitter, or website. And thank you for listening.